like to call this council in committee meeting to order. Before we proceed, I want to acknowledge that the land upon which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Adirondack, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe people. We are the beneficiaries of ancient agreements such as the dish with one spoon between the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee, who agreed to share the abundance of land through peace, friendship, and mutual respect. The two-row wampum by which the Haudenosaunee welcomed the settlers and agreed to share the land in mutual respect, and the Treaty of Niagara, considered a fundamental document by First Nations in all future relations and treaties with the British. We recognize that we have a responsibility to be stewards of the land in cooperation and collaboration with the Indigenous peoples, not only for one generation, but for all generations to come. We understand that we have an obligation to learn the lessons of our history, educate ourselves about the experiences of the Indigenous people, and seek opportunities to heal the wounds that will result in reconciliation with our Indigenous sisters and brothers. Many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people live and work in Fort Erie. We stand with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. We have the good fortune to live in a land of such abundance, diversity, and beauty. Let us be vigilant in protecting Turtle Island. Mr. Clerk, the roll call.
Your Worship, all members of council are present.
Thank you. There's no addendum this evening. The only announcement I want to make is that the Santa Claus parade last Saturday was by far the best Santa Claus parade, I think, in the history of Fort Erie. It was fantastic weather, large crowds, as many floats as I can ever remember, and everybody had a great time. There was good participation throughout the community, and so I want to congratulate the individuals who organized that. Councillor McDermott, that's your ward that it took place in. Congratulations to you. Even though it's Ward 1, that is a community Santa Claus parade, and it's well done. Not sure how big a part you played, but I'm sure that it was significant. Please do, thank you. Okay, are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? There being none, we have no notices of upcoming public meetings, but we do have a public meeting this evening, and that relates to the Building Code Act, and I understand that Caleb Storing is going to provide us with some background information. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, members of council. So, let me just get my notes here. Okay, this public meeting is a requirement of the Ontario Building Code Act. When a municipality is considering changing the building permit fees, a public meeting is required. Notice of the public meeting was provided in the Fort Erie Observer, October 30th, 2025. The advertisement in the paper meets the legal requirement for notification. In addition to the legal requirement, staff have also provided notification to the town's frequent contractors. Why permit fee increases are proposed? The Building Code Act allows municipalities to collect fees that represent anticipated reasonable costs for the administration of the Building Code Act and regulations. Where the fees collected exceed the budgeted expenses, these revenues are transferred into a reserve account, and if there are shortfalls, the budget would be supplemented by the same reserve fund. As you can see from the charts, 2021, 2022, there was a surplus transferred to the reserve fund. In 2023 and 2024, there's a shortfall as indicated of around $422,000 and $83,000 respectively. And for 2025, we're expecting a shortfall of approximately just under $34,000. We still have a little bit of December left, so there still may be some projects in the month that would further adjust this revenue. In 2022, the town hired BMA Consulting to review the building department fee structure, building permit fees, and inspection services. BMA took a look at construction activity and reserves, fee structure analysis, building permit fees, process review, and this was a 10-year study with 10-year projections. The proposed increase for 2026 is 4%. This matches the proposed user fees that will be presented to council on December 15th. The proposed increase in fees, user fees, are presented on the following slides. So slides 8 and 9 represent examples of the 4% within the various construction types. As indicated, we're proposing new rates that are closer to the regional averages while remaining below the regional highs. So we can see here for assembly occupancies, we're proposing $2.28 a square foot, whereas it was $2.19 a square foot. The regional average is $2.32, and the regional high is $3.07. Residential C, that's the most common. We're proposing $1.67. We were at $1.61. The regional average is $1.65, and the regional high is $2.16. Down at the bottom, there's a minimum fee. We're proposing $2.05. We were at $1.97. Regional average is $2.17, and the regional high is $2.93. These are more examples. There's a per $100,000 of construction value. We use that when we don't have a specific construction type, such as like a retaining wall. We're proposing 1877, 2025 was 1805, regional average is 1568, regional high is $20. So this slide is an example of the comparison, how this would impact on the building permit fees for an average 2,000 square foot house with a 500 square foot garage and a 150 square foot porch. For the house area, you see the existing rate is $32.20, and with the proposed change, it would be $33.40. Garage area, 500 square feet was $270. With the proposed rate, it would be $280. Porch area of 150 square feet was $81, and we're proposing $84. So that's a total difference of $133 for this example. And it's noted that with this estimated value of construction, it only represents a 0.02% of the total home value. So this increase is a 0.02%. Annual increases to the permit fees will be proposed based on the recommendations of the consultant who was hired to do the fee review. This is to ensure revenues will continue to strive toward a cost-neutral goal. The building bylaw fee schedule bylaw will be presented for council consideration on December 15th. it is proposed fees would come into effect if approved on January 1st, 2026. This concludes the presentation, and I am available for questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Storing. Any members of council have any questions? So the purpose of these fees is to recover the costs incurred by staff in processing permits.
Yes, sir.
And I noticed that one of the few rates that is going to exceed the regional average is the residential construction. Is there a reason why it would exceed the regional average, whereas most of the others on slide 8 do not, if adjusted?
Let me just get to that one. Yeah, I believe we're sticking with the 4% increase. That does put us above the regional average by 2 cents, but it still keeps us well below the regional high.
Do you know who has the regional high?
I do. The regional high is Niagara on the Lake.
Okay. And these, do you know if any of the other municipalities in Niagara are contemplating changing their fee schedule for 2026?
I wasn't able to get everyone's 2026 proposal. It does appear that everybody's fees do increase annually.
So the comparisons that you're providing to us are the 2025 comparisons?
Yes, correct.
So if any of those go up, then we'll be back below with respect to residential.
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions? Thank you very much, Mr. Storing. I appreciate your presentation.
Thank you.
That takes us to the consent agenda. Are there any items that anyone wishes removed from the consent agenda? If not, can I have a mover? Councillor Dubanow. So the items in the consent agenda are on the floor for any questions or comments. Councillor Noyes and then Councillor Flagg.
Thank you. I see the annual accessibility status report is on, and I'm privileged to be a member of that. And I want to acknowledge and the commitment of the volunteers, the knowledge that they provide to the committee based on their shared life experiences is irreplaceable. And I just want to give them a shout out that what a great job they've been doing and how much we've accomplished in the year with their input. Thank you.
Yeah, well said, Councillor Noyes. Councillor Flagg.
Thank you, Your Worship. Under 8.4, on page 4 of the Appendix 1, there just a question, if I may. It shows that there were 2 new semi-detached dwelling permits issued in Q3, estimated value of $1.6 million, and 2 units created. I'm a bit confused by that in that the way that I would see it, if there was 2 permits, that would be 4 units possibly, not 2 units. And if it is indeed just 1 semi, price of 1.6 seems pretty excessive. And I had a chance to pose this question to acting director just before the meeting. I'm just wondering whether he's had a chance to look into it.
Mr. Yamarino.
Thank you, and through your worship to Councillor Flagg. Yes, we did speak before the meeting. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough time to look into it and get the answer, but I have it written down here, so I will look into that and find that clarification. Thank you.
So Councillor Flagg, you said page 4 of the actual report, Appendix 1?
Of Appendix 1. So it's the Q3, page 4, the Q3, 2025 year in review.
That's 8.4. think I asked about this. Maybe not. Okay, so you're going to provide that information, Mr. Yamarino?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Anything further, Councillor Flagg?
No, thank you, Your Worship. Noise again.
Councillor Noyes. Before I go back to you, anyone else? Councillor Noyes.
Thank you. Based on the same report, I had a question here. There was a talk of town properties and things that were we didn't sell as much as we had thought. Can we at some point have a list of the town properties that we have delineated which ones we are considering selling?
I'm sure that that's possible, CAO.
Through you to Councillor Noyes, I don't believe that we have an actual list of properties currently for sale. I think it's a targeted revenue for lands that may be sold here and there. I know that there was some work that was being done on our GPS system to flag town-owned properties, where we would be identifying some candidate projects potentially for sale. It was with the last land committee meeting, but we don't have a list per se at this point on properties that are candidates for sale.
Thank you for that, but having heard that, can we have is it possible to get a list of town properties that we're not currently using?
Well, there was seems to me in the land committee, there was a reference to some parcels that could be sold. They were put forward. That's in the land committee minutes from last month.
Again, when we were anticipating we were going to sell properties that we didn't make as much money as we had anticipated, so I'm just curious what we were planning on selling and didn't sell, and what are we hoping to sell?
CAO, what was their land that we had targeted for sale in 2025?
Through you to the councillor, I don't believe we had a specific property or properties. I think we have just an annual amount estimated for land sales, and in some cases they may be land sales for land transfers around intersections where we might buy properties for the visibility triangle and we're selling fragments or remnants of them back. So there's a number of things that might generate smaller transactions of land sales, but we don't have a list of properties, and we didn't have any listed as part of the revenue target for that amount.
Okay, thank you for that.
Anyone else before I call the vote? Councillor Christensen.
Just a question with respect to the table on page 5, which shows the...
Which report?
Oh, sorry, 8.4, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, so the same report. I noticed that Ridgeway Thunder Bay has 33.3% of the building permits issued, and I was wondering how many units that represented.
Mr. Yamarino, do you have that information?
I'm sorry, I should have asked it earlier.
Through the mayor to Councillor Christensen, could you reiterate the page that you were looking at, please?
Page 5 of the appendix.
So for Ridgeway Thunder Bay, figure 3, it shows that there are, for new construction residential, 7 permits, representing 33% of the total.
And is that 7 units or?
I would have to confirm that. I'm not sure how many units that represents. I
Okay,
can find that
that's-
information.
Sorry, and I apologize for not asking earlier.
No
Okay,
problem.
Thanks.
Anything further, Councillor Christensen?
No.
Anyone else? All those in favor of the recommendations in the consent agenda? None opposed, that is carried. That takes us then to corporate services. I'll hand the chair to Councillor Flagg.
Thank you, Your Worship. Corporate and Community Services now in session. We have a couple of presentations or delegations this evening. The first is Frank and Don Roberts of 3572 River Trail. Mr. and Mrs. Roberts, if you're here, if you would come to the podium.
on 3572 River Trail. And hopefully this works. Hold on, there we go. This, I just want to show you, is my wonderful drawing. This line here is River Trail. Back here is Black Creek. This is my driveway and my home. When the survey was taking place, this is the front stake of the property. From here, it goes onto an angle to the corner of the property. And this part here is town, and the rest of it is what we own. So when we purchased the house, we didn't have a survey done, but we were given the dimensions of what we owned on the ridge of Black Creek, which was 220 feet. So, of course, we took a measuring tape out and we did the measurements, and it brought us right to this corner where the property from here over was 220 feet. So at that time, when we purchased the house, we had thought that the property all along here, which is a ditch, on the other side of this is trees, and then on the other side of the trees is the outlet that the town had put in a few years back. So when we purchased the property and we did the measurements, we thought that we owned from here all the way up along the ditch to River Trail, not realizing that the property starts here and goes over versus from across our house over to the ditch. Does that make sense? So as time went on, we had planted some trees from seedlings along here. We had put up a shed. And again, at that time, thinking that we owned all the way along here. We weren't aware of it until the town came in and did a survey and saw the angle of the property. Is there more pictures? So this is the survey that we received, and it doesn't make any sense to me at all. I assume this must be the ditch that I'm talking about that runs from River Trail to Black Creek. At one point, before the outlet was put in, the water flow went along the ditch on River Trail, went down the ditch to Black Creek. But now with this outlet, it's not that this ditch is dry, but it's not as full as it used to be. This is the ditch I'm talking about. This is actually a fox den right behind it. And then the outlet on the road allowance is on the other side of this bush. This is where our property begins. Then it comes onto an angle to here. The ditch is right here. There's the bush, and then the outlet's on the other side. This is the ditch that I'm talking about. And then the outlet is over here. That's the tree line I keep talking about also. This is my home, and this is the first stake of where town property starts, which is in the middle of the front yard. This is the angle, so that's the stake you just saw at the front yard. Our home comes to right to where it comes dark. It goes along, you can see the stake there. There's another one here, and then there's two more on the other side of the shed, which the ones on the other side of the shed come right to the ditch. There's the one on the other side of the shed, and then back here is the last one at the creek. There's the creek. There's the final stake that was put in. This is our property. This is the ditch. And then on the other side is the outlet. So this is the section here that we're talking about. During, the 14, 15 years that we've been there, there's a huge walnut tree that's here that we've collected thousands of walnuts, taken them to the dump. We've maintained this property as it was our own, not knowing that it wasn't. We planted trees from seeds and gardens to make it look beautiful. We've cut it, we've done the ditches, and had no idea. Any questions?
Questions? Councillor Noyes?
Thank you, Councillor Flagg. I was looking at the land markers that you had. Do any of the land markers end at the creek?
Yes.
Yeah, the very last
The
one.
very last one ends at the creek. There's this one, and then there's this one back here, which is this picture.
Okay, so,
And this is the creek.
but isn't,
So from here over is our property.
so, again, so that's the, okay, when you, that's the mark I wanted to see. So that's actually the ditch.
That's the ditch.
So it's
Yes.
not really the creek.
This is the
No,
creek
that's the
here.
creek.
That's the creek, so it doesn't.
This is
marker-
the ditch that runs from the creek up to River Trail.
Okay, so going back to my original question, this property doesn't actually hit the creek, it hits the ditch.
No, it hits the ditch and the creek. Yeah. This is still our property right
Yeah, that's what
here.
I'm saying, like you're.
Yep. I'm sorry.
So if that marker is the last marker from what the town owns, then it doesn't own the property to the creek, it owns the
the town-
property to the ditch.
Yes, the town does.
That's one of the things. Is there, if I can continue, the driveway, like you showed us that nice hand drawing that we did, the first one,
Oh, my handy drawing?
and the handy drawing,
It's not there.
because I like yours better than, I can't understand that one.
Now, where'd you go?
It's coming. He's doing it here.
That one. Okay, so I see that the driveway, no, the last stake that you see is the one right in front of your house.
This one here.
So do you know what happens to the property when I'm looking at it to the right of that? Like you.
Over here?
Yeah, does that line continue?
Yes, it continues. Our neighbors are here. Actually, our neighbors just got a survey done to see where their property was. So our property actually goes straight across and straight back.
So-
220 feet back here and 70-something feet in the front.
So do you even have access
To my driveway?
to River Trail?
Yes.
No, but the driveway's not on your property.
No.
So you don't actually have.
Well, yes, partial of the driveway
Partial, but I
is
mean,
on the,
you can't actually get to River Trail without going over town property.
exactly.
So basically, you're kind of like,
Boxed in.
well, landlocked, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And the other thing is, the trees, well, I'll bring this up when the agreement comes forward, because I'm not sure what they're asking you to remove beside the shed. You're willing to remove the shed, right?
We are.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
Actually, if we,
Your worship?
if we didn't have to move the shed, I mean, I'm the one that takes care of all that property that we thought, was ours, and, we take good care of it. Moving the shed would be a cost and a problem.
Your worship?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. and Mrs. Roberts, for coming out. You've not had any difficulty accessing your driveway from River Trail?
No, we
In
haven't.
and out, and that's not an issue here?
No,
just-
it's
It's
not.
just a weird survey.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Other questions? Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Roberts. Next presentation, Uli Conrad from 3426 River Trail.
Can my wife join me too?
She's welcome to, absolutely.
Yeah, my name is Uli Conrad. It's my wife, Ann Conrad. Good evening, Mayor Redekop, dear councils and support staff of the town hall. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to present my case, to present and here at the council meeting. So I prepared a quick a small PowerPoint presentation. We can go quick through that. So the subject 3436 River Trail encroachment agreement request. So I hope the outcome is that we can lease that part of the encroachment. It will stay in the property of Fort Erie, but if there's an option to lease it, that would be what we are looking at. So subject reason why I believe council should allow my encroachment to stay and enter into an encroachment agreement. So just so the history, we're living now for 28 years in River Trail, lot 56, southeast of the water access, Quinn Road. And then this year in March, we received a letter from the town of Fort Erie asking us to remove all belongings on the town-owned property, which wasn't a problem at all. So we did it quick, and I called back, everything is done. So then it was mentioned to check the town-owned property on the letter we received. There was an attachment, and go on the link with Geopedia and see what that looks like. So here, this was an attachment from the town-owned property, or actually an attachment from the letter. It says here that orange or pink, that is the water allowance, the road allowance, and here's the straight line, and you see it goes beside our paving stones here from the pool down to the creek. And here with the Geopedia, same thing. So it starts here on the hydropole, straight line down to the creek. So then you still see the gap here too, which is our flower beds here. So there's still a gap here. So and I thought, oh, that's fine. The only thing what I did is I deviated a little bit going down here from the patio stones. Oh, sorry. You see this line here, this is our fence. So the reason being was that I want to include the apple tree down in the creek on our property here. So, but this is almost everything just on the line from Geopedia, from the town-owned property. So going to the next slide. So then the service was done by the town hall. They hired the contractor. I think that was Resch and Hyde. So then the survey showed a completely different picture because the stacks for the survey all of a sudden in our flower bed and not on the line what I thought it should be. So completely different, and now there's a problem. So this is the view here from the retainer wall down to the creek. There's one stake here, the other one here, and another one behind the tree. And then the other side from here basically goes diagonal to the shed, not in front of the retainer wall, but just straight here, or basically diagonal on top of the stones here. So when I put in the pool 24 years ago, I had to put up a fence, and I called the town of Fort Erie. The permit was issued by the town hall, and I was told to put up a fence, and it's very easy. I was told you go from the hydropole, one line down to the creek, along the tree line, you end up at that apple tree here. The only thing is I deviated a little bit here because I went not on straight on the tree line, I went behind the tree here. So now we would lose our flower bed with all brushes and flowers, and I can't move the fence in front of the existing retainer wall to create a new flower bed with retainer wall because we're getting too close to the pool. With the proximity to the pool, I have to have a distance from at least 1 meter here. So that's the problem here. So we can't do that. We don't know how to, basically. So but in history, with my neighbor, Steve Gruhl, and then was before was Don Misko, we took care of the waterfront access, cutting grass, trimming, did weed control, and kept it always in a good shape for almost 28 years. So then when I talked to Mrs. Latif, Mrs. Jane Chuski, they were so nice to help out and look into the option to lease the encroachment, which is written down in the bylaw, number 98.7. And I'm sure you all, councillors and support staff, know the text, but if there's somebody who doesn't know, I want to just read it quick. According to the bylaw number 89-7, Article 8, generally, encroachment on waterfront allowance shall only be granted in exceptional circumstances and may be permitted at the sole discretion of the council. So in my opinion, circumstances could be continuous future care provided by the owner at the watershed, at the water allowance, to keep a nice appearance with existing brushes and flowers in flower bed, which complies with the waterfront allowances, and the history showed that we kept it always nice, as Frank and Dawn said too. They took care of their property, although they didn't know that was not hers. Same situation in our area. We didn't know, but we took care. We took turns, and Steve and myself, we kept it nice all the time. And again, that showed always a nice condition of the entire waterfront allowance provided by owners from both sides of the town property, owned property. So now an encroachment agreement formally recognizes the encroachment by both the town and owner, which clearly established terms and conditions to the permission being granted and annual fees being charged for the use of the municipal land, similar to a lease or rental agreement. So again, as I said, I mean, one option would be to purchase that land. I don't know if that's still, we just talked about it, is that an option too? But if you can get into a lease or rental agreement, that would be okay then. There's the updated survey from the contractor, Russian height. So now basically I took the snapshot from the encroachment here and did a quick calculation. And it looks like feasible solution would be nice to include the entire encroachment is just 17 square meters, right? Going from my shed down to the creek. Or if you only, I can still move this here over there, but again, the problem is here where the retainer wall is. If you only, keep this one here, there's only like 5 square meters. Doesn't sound much, but again, it is still an encroachment. We have to talk about it and see what we can do. Again, best would be to get into an encroachment agreement here to lease that piece of property. So summary of reasons for seeking the encroachment agreement. I thought in the beginning, when we put up the pool, there was a miscommunication with town-owned property lines and the survey conducted. I'll show you some pictures. That the picture from Geopedia and from the attachment from the letter from the town showed completely different than the survey completed afterwards. So if we, the problem is with the, as I said before, the relocation of the retainer wall. First instead, it's not feasible to do the compromise of the required distance or proximity to the pool edge. And if we can keep the flower bed with all the brushes and everything nice, we can maintain it. And again, but the thing is, we would have to have the access from our property to maintain it and to take care of it. If we lose everything, then we have to surrender it basically, and then I don't know who takes care of that then. But we're going to make sure that it always, at all times, looks nice and basically fits into a green space area. It's not only the water window straight, but when it's on both sides, where where we live, this looks nice too. That is a good approach to the entire water window. So then I think keeping the flower bed with its vegetation won't interfere with the water window condition and layout, but will definitely enhance the entire green space approach. And then on top, be okay to pay the annual fee, when we get into an encroachment agreement here to lease that piece of land.
Thank you, Mr. Conrad.
Thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and through you to Mr. Conrad, thank you very much for your presentation this evening. Just going back to, oh, sorry, I
Conrad,
got
we've got
questions
some-
for you.
Some questions.
I got some questions for you. Yeah, don't run away yet. Just with respect to your pool, you had mentioned that you put the pool in 20 years ago, correct?
24 years.
24, okay, well, quite a while ago. Now, you did get a permit during that time?
Yes.
And my question is, when you received the permit, was the entire pool, including the retaining wall and the deck portion, part of the permit? Or was it just the pool itself?
Just the pool, it was just for the pool, yes.
Okay, and they approved that location from your property line, correct?
That's correct.
Or at least what they thought was the property line at the time. My next question is, have staff made an issue about the pool location at all? They haven't told you to move your pool or anything like that?
No.
Okay. That was my question. Thank you very much.
No, the pool is on our property, right?
Thank you, Mr. Councillor Flagg. In regards to, leave that picture there, that's a good picture. Okay, I see the retaining wall, and I see where the stake is. And I see where the stake is by the, going towards the creek there.
Yeah.
You could move the fence
Yes.
over and to meet that. In other words, so basically the retaining wall, if the retaining wall stays, you would still move the fence
Right.
to meet the property lines, yes?
Yes, I could, from here, move the fence over here and going down to the creek in front of the apple tree. That's not a problem.
And is there not a reason, because I visited your property in the summertime, and at that point, there was another issue with the fence in regards to the fence height. Has that been corrected already?
No, that is, the height is okay. It's 120. It's correct.
Well, I thought you had to, it wasn't high enough.
No, it's high enough.
Okay. That's good. In regards to the bushes and things, I'm not quite sure what they're asking, what the encroachment agreement is asking for, because I don't even know if you have to remove any greenery. You could leave the greenery and just move the fence. And the tree is actually on town property, like the apple tree is actually on town property, so that's not your issue either. So basically, the big issue is the retaining wall. And there's no way you could remove the retaining wall and keep the distance from the pool.
From the edge, yeah, to the retaining wall.
Okay, because even what's supporting the retaining wall is on town property. The height's not the issue, right?
The height from the wall?
Yeah, the height's
No,
not the issue, it's the location.
Yeah.
Now, how many blocks, because I know it's on an angle, so if I was to look at where your arrow is now, how many of those blocks, like how far, okay, because we're like, I'm trying to figure out where it's going, because I know it's not the entire retaining wall. How much of the retaining wall is on town property? Like, if I should count the blocks?
Probably up to here in the middle,
Okay, up to the
because it
middle.
goes diagonal and then ends
Yeah.
up on the edge of
So we're looking at, okay, so we're looking at just that piece. Okay, thank you.
Probably here, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Councillor Lewis?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for your presentation. Just a couple of questions. One being the miscommunication with the town of Fort Erie when you were originally putting up the fence and the pool. Was that a verbal conversation?
Verbal,
or
yes, that was
okay,
verbal.
so there was no email.
I called the town.
And then the other being, if you can go back to the slide that you had up when Councillor Noyes was asking a question, you refer to a retaining wall. And I'm just wondering, is this really a retaining wall or is
No,
it?
it's not a retaining wall. It's, you have the patio stones here, right?
Right.
And that is basically these,
It's more like a garden
they're
edge.
sitting on top there,
It's
right?
an edge of
Yeah.
your patio. So
Correct.
when you talk about the distance from the pool to the garden edge, we'll call it, not the retaining wall, who is it that says that that will compromise the pool?
No, you have to have 1 meter at least with a fence or any structure. You have to maintain a distance of 1 meter
And
to
would
the
it
edge
not-
of the pool.
Would that center line where it's going further this way,
Oh, sorry.
opposite for you, would that not be a meter to the edge of the pool? I'm just trying to figure out
Yeah.
how we got to, it will it will jeopardize the integrity of the pool when there's no one or no report or engineering, like, where did we come up with that?
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying, yeah.
I'm just trying to, is it we're trying to stay a meter away from the pool, or does somewhere in the specs for the pool make that claim?
I'm not sure, but I don't think so.
Or
You
how
gotta
did
have, for safety reasons, you have to have a distance of 1 meter to the pool edge.
Okay,
It's not a structural static
so we don't know.
concern.
So we don't know for sure whether that distance would have a problem with the integrity of the pool?
No.
Okay. And that was my only two questions, just confirming the retaining wall. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Your worship?
Yeah, thank you very much for coming out, Mr. Conrad.
No problem.
I've enjoyed
Welcome.
dealing with you in the past.
I know.
So looking at this photograph, it looks like there are 7 rows of bricks from the edge of the concrete circling the pool over to the little wall. Those look like 6-inch wide blocks.
These blocks here on top, they actually are
The edge.
then
So the patio,
they're 9 inches.
patio pavers.
Oh, the pavers, the pavers. Yeah,
They look
that's,
like 6-inch.
yeah, that's right.
pavers.
Five and a half.
And it looks like there's 7 courses from the concrete around the pool over to the wall. If there's 6 inches and there's 7 courses, that's 42 inches, which is more than a meter.
It is more than a meter now. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
There's 120 now. I measured
Thank
this morning.
thank you.
Councillor Noyes?
Thank you. Going to that same picture, but the retaining wall that is on town property is on the creek side of the pool, right? Like if you went back 3, like where you pointed, where the town property begins and ends, it's about, you can't see where I'm pointing, where that light is, I guess. It still wouldn't interfere with the distance from the pool to the retaining wall. You don't have to take the whole retaining wall down. You just have to take that one portion down.
Yeah, that would be an option.
Yeah, not that you want to, I'm just saying.
Yeah, but there's still, the thing is, you know, if the service is okay, then I have to move the fence to here, right? So, and the fence will be in here in front of the retainer wall, right? You know what I mean?
Well, okay, I think I know what you mean, but, okay.
Yeah,
thank
so
you.
see, that fence, which is here, that has to be moved in front of the retainer wall. Now, we don't have access now to the retainer wall and the flower bed. That's the problem.
Okay, thank you.
But we want to keep it nice because this is here, this area is the water window, right? We thought if you can keep that, we have other bushes here and rose bushes, whatever, right? Make it nice appearance. And people coming and visiting the water window, they see how nice it is on both sides of the water window. Because now the owners, they maintain it, they take care of it, right?
Okay, I see what you mean. Thank you.
Other questions? No? Thank you, Mr. Conrad.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. That will bring us then to say, 12:25, looking for a motion there to put it on the floor, Your Worship, and comments or questions. Councillor Noyes?
I do think, okay, I'm going to deal with, okay, which one am I going to deal with first? I'm going to deal with the Willow Grove first, road allowances, which is the first one that we saw today. I do think, as she's shown, that these are exceptional circumstances. I mean, the markers are right in front of her house, and then it goes out, and it doesn't actually go to the creek, it actually goes to the ditch. I'm wondering, I know that they have use of the driveway, but at any point, they could be told, you don't have use of the driveway either. And I see the mayor shaking his head, no. Okay, so let's forget the driveway then. Let's put that to the side. But at the same point, it's like, you know, we need to consider that this is exceptional, the way the property line goes and where the house is situated. And they didn't create this, they bought it, and granted, you know, buyer beware type thing, I understand all that. But at the same point, it's like, what are we actually asking them to take down? I know the shed, but what else are we actually asking them to take down?
Mr. CEO, are you willing to field that?
Yeah, through you to the councillor. I believe when the matter was discussed at Land Committee, it would be any of the structures, physical structures that are on that property. We've not usually, unless it was interfering with like a fire hydrant or something else, we've generally not been having vegetation specifically moved, but any structures would need to be removed.
And
Councillor
hearing
Noyes?
that, so the only structure that I can see on the property is basically the shed. The vegetation and the berms that they have there would remain.
I think that's correct.
That's,
Oh, hold on.
and just to add that I understand that the berms were put there because of flooding, that the ditch that they showed you does flood, and one of the reasons they put the berms there, or they strategically placed the flower beds, was to stop the water from going closer to their house. So I think that's also a consideration we need to think about. I think I'll wait for the mayor to respond to correct me if it's more than just structure on the property.
Your worship?
Well, I'm looking at the survey. The survey says frame shed, trailer, couple of junk piles. Those are the items that would be removed. That's what the survey says.
Councillor Noyes?
I understand that the trailer has been removed, the junk piles have been removed. So accepting that as that's happened, then the only thing that we're concerned about is the shed itself. The trees can stay, the vegetation can stay.
The CEO, will you confirm that?
We'd have to take another look just to ensure that it's not encroaching on any sort of access issues or any other areas. But generally, it's been the position that vegetation, if it's not impeding the access, that may be left behind. But if we needed to do maintenance or something else, we would be removing it, not replacing it.
Now, and I know this is not, it's part of it, but it's also, this is an unopened, like a water window, and this area, this particular water window is, again, in prior discussions over the last year or so, is that this particular area does flood, so that it's unlikely that we would ever be putting a bench and a concrete pad to this location because of the potential of flooding. I don't know if anybody wants to add to that? That's my understanding. We were looking at this.
Okay, other comments on the report?
I have other comments on the other one.
I'm sorry, Councillor Noyes?
I do have comments on I wanted to do Willow Grove first, and then I wanted to do the other one, Quinn.
You still have the floor, so if you want to talk on the other one, I'm good with that.
If anybody wanted to talk more on Willow Road. Again, I see, I mean, we all saw that there's a retaining wall that he would have to remove 3 feet of it. He's willing to move the fence to meet from the end of the retaining wall to the creek. And what benefit would anyone have if the retaining wall was removed? If it's not left, now you're only going back a few feet, let's say 3 or 4 feet. What would be the benefit of removing that to anyone? I just wondered.
So the benefit to who, Councillor Noyes?
Well, we're asking them to remove the retaining wall, and I'm wondering why, other than the fact that it's an encroachment, beside the fact that it's an encroachment, what would be the benefit to removing that?
I think the encroachment is the benefit, but Mr. CEO, do you want to comment?
Through you to the councillor, I guess just the point of clarification is that in discussions, this council has taken the position that encroachments along the water windows was a zero tolerance approach, and that's within council's discretion if they choose to take another course of action. But the committee did discuss this, and there has been a number of other instances along particularly the water windows where there have been some expensive encroachment removals, and the policy remains for council to make a decision on whether or not they wish to depart from that policy or come up with an alternate arrangement with the landowners. So on that basis, the committee did make a recommendation, which is simply a recommendation for the council, but they made a recommendation that we would deny any of the requests along the water windows without, much regard for what the expense or encroachment might be, because they're on the town property, and council took a pretty clear stand on wanting to remove encroachments, which we have done on other properties.
Thank you for that explanation. There has been several, I wouldn't say several, I can think of 3 off when I looked, and I didn't look for too long, in the last little while that we did allow the encroachments to happen. One was on the Niagara River Parkway. I know the mayor couldn't remember it, but it was actually December 2nd, 2021. Actually, Councillor Dubanow and I, we both got involved with this. And it was carried that that we would allow the person to continue with his vegetation. As long as it's creating as long as the vegetation was not creating a safety or a sightline issue, and that a property marker be installed indicating that it was town-owned land, at the property owner's expense. We did approve that one. And we also approved one on Black Creek Road, where the access was to the person's dock on the other side of Black Creek Road, Mr. Holliday's property. And there's another one, I think I can find that one too.
We'll let you keep looking.
Oh, yes, on 3367 North Shore Drive. Did we not approve that one too? The maintenance of an existing garage and the encroaches on the North Shore Drive road allowance? Did we not also approve that one? That was done in 2018. I'm not sure where North Shore Drive is. I did talk to Councillor Lewis, saying, okay, is that the waterfront? And it is, and we did approve that one too, an encroachment agreement to allow him to do that. Now, I'm just wondering if other councillors can recall. I know I talked to Councillor Lewis that there was also one that he mentioned that we also approved. I'm sorry.
Mine was the one at Windmill Point Road, but that was the one where the landowner had to move the the issue off of town property.
Okay. Well, again, I'm just thinking that there are 3 incidences that I've just pointed out that we did allow the encroachment agreements to go for it. I mean, they're all different. They're all exceptional. One, obviously, you're going to let the guy have access to his dock. The other one, it was a beautiful piece of property. They were maintaining with bushes and everything else. It wasn't hurting anybody. It wasn't doing anything, and they were more than willing to enjoy, for the public to enjoy it. So, again, I'll wait for the other councillors to do it, and then I'm going to ask for some amendments.
Councillor Dubanow?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. First off, I would like to request that we vote on each item separately, just because I think that's important. They're 2 separate issues, and I think they should be voted on separately, but I would like to speak to this as well, if I may. With respect to 3436 River Trail, So I want to give some background here, and I really appreciate Mr. Conrad's presentation because I think it contained a lot of good information, and clearly he's not someone who I would say is lackadaisical. There's obviously an intent to have a nice looking property, and I don't think there was anything done here maliciously. But there is some background when it comes to water windows in particular, and just for some background here. The reason, and at least this is my opinion as a member of council, why we have taken such a hard stance on waterfront access is because public access to the waterfront has been a very important issue for members of this council and for the municipality as a whole. I was on the waterfront strategy focus group back before my time on council, and this was one of the things that we really hammered home is that the public access that we do have to the waterfront, we maintain unencumbered. And I know that in the past there have been examples where encroachments have grown over time to the point where we had a road allowance that was fenced off, and it had been not dealt with in such a long time that perceptions were that that was theirs and no one else had access to it. And when we're talking about issues of public waterfront here, that can become very troubling for members of the community when you live in an area with surrounded by so much water, which, as Councillor Lubert's always used to say, is our birthright. Mayor Redekop has said that as well, and I agree. With respect to 3436 River Trail, I do think that the encroachments need to be removed. I think this is a policy, but I'll see where things go, but I would like to refer this one back to staff to see if we can find out a solution that would meet our bylaw requirements that would allow a fence to be constructed while maintaining as much of that patio as possible. I think with regard to the fact that we did approve a pool permit and that we scoped out the location and that was approved per Mr. Conrad. I think it would go a long way, just to have a conversation with staff about what we can do, how we can make this work where the encroachment can be removed, but that we can maintain a fence and that the access on the side of the pool can be maintained. I think that is something that I think would be fair for Mr. Conrad. So that's why I'd like to vote on them separately so we can refer that to staff. With the second one, it's a shed. I don't want to speak ill here, but regardless of the dimensions of the property, regardless of the shape, it's a water window. And thankfully it's a shed and not a garage or something like that, which hopefully can be picked up and moved onto the other side of the survey stake. So I will be supporting that staff recommendation. But I think with respect to the pool and the unique characteristics of 3436, I think before they're removed, there needs to be some more discussion with staff for a potential solution. So those are my comments.
Thank you. Before we continue, Mr. Clerk, in the reports of the presentation delegations, it shows a different address. It shows 3572, and in the report, where am I here? It shows 3426 for Mr. Conrad, and then in the report it shows 36. Mr. Conrad, is it 26 or 36? Thank you. Okay, so is it council's will then that we separate these items? You good with that? Okay, all right. All right, so let's, Councillor Noyes?
Are we going to, I do want to talk again about 3570. I agree with Councillor Dubanow's suggestion that we have staff look at it again. So I'm not sure if we're going to defer 3436 River Trail, then with the patio. Then should we not be deferring that instead of voting on that? You don't think it needs deferral? So what? Okay, an amendment?
Mr. Clerk, what's your preference? We can certainly vote on the one. What's your preference with respect to 36?
Through you, Chair, was there an original request to divide the question?
That's what we're working towards now.
Okay, perfect. And then we can, if there's an amendment on a particular item, the amendment can be brought forward when we deal with that item.
Okay, perfect. So let's vote on the separation of the items first then, okay? I don't have to vote on that? Okay, so let's just take 36, and that's what we'll have a discussion on at this point. Okay? Good. Councillor Lewis?
Yes, which one is this? Is this the one with the shed on the property or the pool
Patio.
near the shed?
The pool.
The pool.
Can I speak?
Yes, please.
Okay, so far we don't have an amendment on the floor. We've got a request that we're going to deal with these separately. I've been involved in waterfront access since the beginning. That goes back into the last century, precisely because the public wants access to the water. At the time, that was really focused on Lake Erie. Lake Erie was the waterfront points that we had, and there are a number of them. They've been all surveyed, and over the years, there have been requirements that areas be cleared. Some of them included stone walls that had to be removed because property owners thought that was their property, or they had at least encroached to the point where they put up the walls and they were removed. They didn't necessarily obstruct access to the water, but they reduced the size of the waterfront road allowance. That was the beginning of the no tolerance, and much of that was done during a period of time when I wasn't the mayor. The clearing was done mostly between 2006 and 2010 or thereabouts, I believe. This issue, the waterfront access, has become a point of focus now for Black Creek. It is a waterfront, and so it now has waterfront windows. Same type of policy that we've had. This is access to the water by the public, so that everybody that lives in the town of Fort Erie, every visitor theoretically has a right of access to the waterfront. And our policy has been clear from day one. There may be misunderstandings, miscommunications, misapprehensions, but it's clear that the waterfront road allowances are public property, and we have typically made the point that they're cleared. The examples, Councillor Noyes, that you raised, the Niagara River Parkway, that was the issue where the two neighbors were arguing about encroachments. It was all vegetation, and that certainly isn't a waterfront window. The Black Creek Road dock, that was an encroachment agreement was agreed upon. That is not a water window. At your request, we agreed to waive an encroachment fee. The the North Shore Drive issue, again, not a waterfront window. So they're not really comparable to the situations here, which are waterfront windows. Exceptional circumstances is a legal term. It means something out of the ordinary. There's nothing, in my view, that would suggest that these situations are anything out of the ordinary. There's certainly a hardship for the property owners. I acknowledge that. But that doesn't create the exceptional circumstances. The idea of having staff work with the owners of 3436 River Trail to ensure that the use of the pool is not compromised, I don't think that's a problem. I don't think we need to defer or defeat or do anything other than perhaps amend the recommendation to direct staff to do that. Otherwise, my view on this is fairly clear. These are waterfront windows, and like every other waterfront window, we should be clearing them for the use of the public.
Thank you, Your Worship. Anything further? Okay, so we're going to, I've got three motions then. We'll start out with the first, that we received the November 21 Land Committee minutes. Need that on the floor. Thank you, Councillor Lewis. Anything further on that? All those in favor? Opposition? Carries. The second one then that we'll deal with is 3436 River Trail. Thank you, Councillor Dubanow. Are you going to speak on that?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I would like to move an amendment to the recommendation that staff work with the property owner to determine a way to maintain access to the pool while ensuring that a fence is legally erected for safety. And I'd be happy to take any suggestion on wording, because that's my intent, just to make sure that we can get a fence up there in a way that allows access to the pool and minimizes as much disruption as possible.
Councillor Noyes?
I want to clarify, too, that all the vegetation can remain as long as it's not interfering with a sight line or presenting a safety issue.
I think that's in place, yep. Okay, anything on Councillor Dubanow's amendment? Just to the amendment. CO McQueen?
Thank you to the chair. Just, I guess, a point of clarification. So we're sending this back to staff. There is a council policy about zero encroachment. So are we to be considering alternatives in the policy or exceptions to the policy, or a solution that may allow what is in place to remain? I guess I'm just looking for some clarification.
Councillor Dubanow.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with the mayor, and I kind of hinted at my feelings before, which is basically we have these policies in place, and they're strict for a reason, because encroachments grow if we don't take action against them. But at the same time, we're talking about a patio with a pool, we're talking about a requirement for a fence. In my opinion, I do think the patio needs to be cut back to ensure that the encroachment is removed. But at the same time, we do need to get a fence on there. So I'm hoping that staff can work with the property owner to find a way to construct a fence that meets the legal requirements for keeping the pool safe, as well as minimizes any disruption. And the reason I say that is there may be technology I'm not aware of. They might be able to put it on top of the patio and mount it using Tapcons or something. I'm not aware of this, and I'm hoping staff can have a discussion with the resident to find out a way that minimizes their need to cut back off the encroachment, if you will.
Ms. McQueen?
So just as a point of clarification, the owner has recommended purchasing a sliver of property to correct the encroachment. And so is that one of the recommendations being considered? Or are we maintaining the water window?
Do you want to speak further? I believe what we're saying is that staff are encouraged to find a workaround so that it can be safe for the property owners, but the encroachment is taken care of.
You sum that up perfectly, Mr. Chair. The encroachment has to go, that this has been longstanding policy of the municipality with waterfront windows. But I think considering the unique situation that with it being the pool, that we can give some consideration to the resident to find out a workable solution that minimizes disruption as much as possible while ensuring the encroachment is still removed.
Councillor Noyes?
I'm going to sound like a broken record here. I'm reading this, and it talks about the flower beds. So I'd like to make another amendment that we do not remove the flower beds, because that's what the
Yeah, let's deal with this one. Anything on the amendment? Reasonably clear? Okay. All those in favor? Opposition? Okay, that's carried. Councillor Noyes?
Yeah, I'd like to make another amendment that the flower beds located on the Quinn Road allowance be allowed to stay as long as they are not producing any sightline or safety issues.
We're still on 3436. Any comment to that?
There aren't flowers on 3436. You're talking about 3572.
3436, there's rose bushes and everything else. You can't see it right now, but when you, it's the encroachment agreement for part of retaining wall on the flower beds located. So I'm just talking about the flower beds that bullet has. So if there's no flower beds, then it doesn't matter. So we can pass the amendment to remove the flower beds that don't exist. I'm reading the amendment. I'm reading not the amendment, I'm reading what's written in front of me, and it says flower beds.
When staff deal with this and look for a solution that's going to help maintain access to the pool and the fence, obviously if the trees or shrubs need to go because the fence or something supersedes them being there, that would be dealt with then. I don't know if we can make that decision tonight.
I would hope. Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay, I'm going to call the main question then, as amended. So all those in favor? Opposition? That carries. Brings us then to 3572 River Trail. Questions or comments? Councillor Noyes?
I just wanted to point out that this particular road allowance, Willow Grove does not end at the creek. It ends at the ditch.
Well, that corner does, but it would continue
No,
past the ditch into the creek.
You know, the ditch goes into the creek, but the property that abuts the creek.
Is that germane to this, though?
Well, it is water access, but it's water access to the ditch. It's not water access to the creek. But
Okay.
anyway,
Good enough.
it's splitting hairs here.
Yep.
I don't necessarily disagree that the shed needs to go, but again, I wanted to make sure that the trees on the property and the vegetation on the property that's there on the berms get to stay, unless again, repeating myself here.
Yeah, you are. Councillor.
Creates a problem.
Yeah, CEO has already taken care of that question previously. Anything else?
No.
Okay, good. We'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposition? Carried. Brings us to new business or inquiries. Seeing none. Questions on the business status report? None. Your worship, I will.
Thank you very much, Councillor Flagg. That takes us to Planning, Building, and Bylaw. Councillor Christensen.
Thank you, Your Worship. This session of Planning, Building, and Bylaw Services Subcommittee is now in session. We have no presentations and delegations. We have a report, PBBS 77-2025, the tree contribution procedure. And I have a mover. Councillor Lewis. The report is now on the floor for questions and discussion. Councillor Noyes.
Thank you, Councillor Christensen. I just wanted to bring this, I want to start at the beginning of all this. The reason we did this, we had the boulevard trees, was to create a streetscape. That was the purpose when it was first introduced along the boulevard, that the town would be planting trees along the boulevard, and the person who created the lot would then pay for the tree along the boulevard. Now we're going in a totally different direction as far as I'm concerned. If the tree can't be planted on the boulevard, why are we charging them a fee for planting a tree on the boulevard? I would think if you can't plant the tree on the boulevard for all the reasons that the staff say, there's lines and there's infrastructure, et cetera, and the tree can't be planted there, why are we charging them for a boulevard tree and say, well, can't be planted on the boulevard, even though that's where it all started, but we can plant it anywhere in the town of Fort Erie. The person who is paying for that tree would have no benefit of that tree. If it was on the boulevard in front of their house, I can see the benefit. When it's planted somewhere else, why are we asking the person who creates a lot to pay for a tree they may never have any value to? If it's contributing to the tree canopy of the town, I understand, then everybody should be paying for more trees. It should have nothing to do with the consent application. If you can plant a tree on the boulevard, charge them. If you can't plant a tree on the boulevard, don't charge them. And it's a staff decision whether a tree can be planted or not. That's my one point. The other point is basically in the second appendix, now of course I've lost it again. In the second appendix, it talks about giving 2 years. It talks about giving 2 years for when the consent application is approved to when the tree has to be planted. It takes a long time after you get the consent application to do everything you need to do on that property. The sketching, et cetera, et cetera. I know there's a lot of work done before the consent applications, a lot of work afterwards. I would want to extend that to 5 years after consent application. And the other thing too is they're asking for a building plan, I think. That there has to be a building plan within 2 years of the consent application? Is that what I'm reading?
Mr. Yamarino, can you comment on? I think it's the item 4 under the appendix. the town will endeavor to complete associated tree plantings within 2 years of fund collection, subject to seasonal and operational constraints. Can you comment on Councillor Noyes' question?
Yes, through the chair to the councillor, I'm just taking a second to read item number 4. Yeah, that's correct. It's with respect to building plans, so presumably a building permit, yes.
Okay, so many times it takes more than 2 years to do this. So what I'm saying is that, okay, let's say they don't have a building permit. Let's say they have a sketch of the property, a decent sketch where you can kind of see where A and B and say, okay, here's a sketch of the property. This is where I want to plant the tree on the boulevard. Would that not be sufficient? Why do they need a building permit? Because the whole purpose of this whole thing is because a while ago, like decades ago, we were collecting fees for the trees and not planting them, and we kind of lost track of them. I understand the purpose, to try to keep an eye on where these trees need to go. But why do we need a building permit if the owner of the property says, here's a sketch, this is where I think my house is going to go, this is where the driveway is going to go, you can plant the tree here on the boulevard? Why is that not sufficient? Why do we need a building permit?
Through the chair to Councillor Noyes, the problem is that at the consent stage, we don't always have building plans. Some developers or owners wish to sever their property and they don't have building plans. They plan on selling that property vacant. The other issue is that even if building plans are presented at the consent stage, once the lot's created, there's really nothing that prevents the owner from changing those building plans between the consent stage and the building permit. So we don't really know where the driveway will go, where the services will go, and other features related to the construction until we receive the building permit. At that point, we have more concrete plans that we can rely on to determine if a tree can be planted or not.
But this whole thing is tied to the consent application. It says, after 2 years after the consent application, you need a building permit, or else you forfeit your $1,000. Is that what I'm reading into this? It says you need a building permit within 2 years.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And I'm saying, listening to your answer, saying you don't quite know where the driveway's going to go, you don't know where the house is going to go. If I had a building permit, how long can that building permit exist before I do anything?
Through the chair to Councillor Noyes, I'm not sure how long a building permit can be open for before it is required to be closed. I don't have that answer, but I can look into that.
Okay, because I think it's a few years. So,
Could, I think the mayor has a question as well, so.
okay.
Okay.
So number one, I would say 5 years. So I'll make an amendment. I want to hear other people say, but I have a few amendments to make on this. So I guess I will wait to hear from the other thing, yeah, I got another one. The urban area. In every single tree bylaw we have done to date, when we're talking about trees that are being paid for from someone in an urban area, the tree is supposed to go in an urban area. Now we've changed it to anywhere in the town, which takes it out of the urban area. So why do we make that change? Why don't we keep it in the urban area? So I'm just wondering why did we change it from has to remain within the urban area to anywhere in the town?
Through the chair to Councillor Noyes, if that's council's direction, we can make that change.
Well, actually, that exists now. It exists now that it has to be planted within an urban area. The staff recommendation is that we plant it anywhere in the town. I'm not just wondering, why did the staff make that recommendation?
I think, Councillor Noyes, it says elsewhere in the town. It may well have assumed an understanding that would be in the urban area, but that could possibly be something added into this through an amendment or friendly amendment.
Okay, and thank you for that. I would like to see that it remain in an urban area. because every one of our tree bylaws so far says it goes into an urban area. It doesn't go somewhere down somewhere else. That it has to be done within the urban area. I know it does say within a geographical area where the person is paying the $1,000 for. So I'll wait to see what other people have to say. But again, this is the tree bylaw just kind of growing, no pun intended.
Your worship.
Chair, on a point of order, I think if Councillor Noyes has amendments, she should be bringing them forward so we can deal with them. Because we don't know what we're speaking to until she's finished speaking, and she's already brought up a couple of points, and so she's got 2 amendments she'd like to make. I think she should make them.
Councillor Noyes, would you like to?
Okay, so my first amendment is where the staff determine that a boulevard tree cannot be planted, and that I understand is the time of consent, because that's when we're charging the $1,000, that no charge for a tree in the boulevard will be charged. In other words, if we can't plant it there, we shouldn't be charging for one. That's my first amendment.
Okay, are there any questions or discussion, Your worship?
Yeah, so I'm going to oppose that, and I'm going to oppose it because originally it may have been that when a new lot was created, the idea was to have the tree in front of the lot. I think in most cases, there will be an opportunity to plant a tree on the boulevard where a new lot is created. But as time has gone on, we've had changes in environmental policies. We've had the emerald ash borer devastate a lot of tree canopy in this town. So the policy is expanded, and if the tree can't be planted on the boulevard, then the tree should be planted, there should be a tree planted someplace else in the community, and that's part of replenishing our tree canopy. That is a policy that I'm supportive of. It's because it's arising out of the creation of a new building lot. In terms of, only requiring trees if it can be planted on the boulevard, I think that really doesn't account for the new approach that we're trying to take with respect to revitalizing our tree canopy. So I'm going to oppose this particular amendment for those reasons.
Councillor Lewis?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Councillor Noyes, for bringing forward the amendment. I can understand to some degree where you're coming from with this, but further to the mayor's comment, especially with a provincial government that has a mandate of build more houses quicker, stacked townhomes, row homes, smaller lots, ADUs with parking lots and front yards, I think we're going to see more homes on smaller parcels of land where good luck getting anything on the property after you get the house and the driveway there. So I do think it needs to remain, it needs to stay somewhere in the municipality. I'm under the assumption that if the town policy is the urban area, then elsewhere in the town, urban area would apply here, I would hope. But we can certainly get some clarity on that. But with the provincial direction on housing, I don't know how this will help us by making that movement. And I also don't know in many cases where we're going to be able to put any tree on any lot, let alone anyone even having a backyard picnic in their backyard with the size of some of these lots.
Any other comment? I will call the amendment. Oh, Councillor Noyes.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on the comments. And I don't necessarily disagree that we need to revitalize our tree canopy, but I don't think it should be at the cost of creating a consent application. I think that's a penalty when you're creating a lot. And the original purpose was to create a street treescape, which is no longer, I guess the thing. And the fact that the lots are getting smaller, I agree with you. It may be hard to plant trees. So then maybe we need to look at what we're charging for something that we know we can't provide. Like we're calling it a boulevard tree and we can't provide it. And we know we can't provide it, but we're still saying, okay, yeah, we're going to take your money and put the tree someplace else. If that is the rationale for it, forget about where the tree's planted, just charge everybody who creates a lot $1,000. Call it whatever you want. I understand you can't call it a development fee. Call it something, but don't say it's, that you're going to have benefit of that tree when you may not have benefit. So if we're going after the tree canopy all over the place, fine, charge everybody who creates a lot. And stick to that. You don't even need this anymore. Just put it in the development fees or wherever, so that if you create a lot, you have to pay $1,000 for a tree. End of story.
Are there any other comments? No. I'll call the
And
question.
I want a registered vote, please.
So it's a registered vote. All those in favor of Councillor Noyes' amendment?
Clerk will call.
Oh,
Yep, thank you through you, Chair. Recorded vote was requested. Councillor McDermott?
On the amendment.
On the amendment, thank you.
No.
Councillor Lewis?
No.
Mayor?
No.
Councillor Flagg?
No.
Councillor Dubanow?
No.
Councillor Noyes?
Yes.
Councillor Christensen?
no.
That is defeated.
Your next amendment?
My next amendment is that the trees, where the money is collected for the tree within an urban area, that the tree, and it can't be planted there, that it be planted in an urban area, as close to geographical area, I think that's actually described in here, to where the money's been collected. Not technically, but you know what I mean.
Are there any questions? Mayor Redekop?
Yeah, so this provides that if a severance is granted on lands outside the urban areas, such as a farm severance, the tree would be planted outside the urban area. Is that the intent? So, okay.
Councillor Lewis, did you? No. Okay.
Similar.
Okay. Yes. All those in favor of Councillor, oh, sorry. Oh,
Thank you through you, Chair. Recorded vote was requested. Councillor McDermott? Councillor Lewis?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Councillor Flagg?
Yes.
Councillor Dubanow?
Yes.
Councillor Noyes?
Yes.
Councillor Christensen?
yes.
That is approved.
Okay. Now we will, another amendment. Okay.
Okay, the last amendment, you'll be happy to know, is that the 2-year, where it says that there'll be 2 years. 4, yeah, the applicant. Within a 2-year period after consent is finalized, that be changed to 5 years, because I think it could take 5 years. By the time you get all your ducks in a row and your finances and your house plans and all that. So it changed that 2-year to 5-year. I think that's still within a reasonable length of time for the town to track it, which is the whole reason we're doing this. And also gives the owner, hopefully they'll do it sooner, but it gives the owner a little bit more of a window to do what they need to do.
Could I ask for clarification? So there are 3 paragraphs under item 4, timelines and applicant expectations. So the second paragraph, second sentence says, the town will endeavor to complete associated plannings within 2 years of fund collection, subject to seasonal. The next one says, is the one, and I'm asking for clarification whether you want to change that to within 5 years, or the third paragraph, which is to avoid conflict with future building footprints. Funds may be used to plant elsewhere in the town if applicants do not present building plans within a 2-year. Is that where you want to change it to 5-year, or both?
Again, I think they're kind of they're talking about the same thing, if I'm not mistaken, because it's tied to the building permit. Am I not? To complete an associated tree plan within 2 years of the fund collected, subject to seasonal operational costs. But that line doesn't talk about building permits at all. The next line talks about building permits. And it explains why they want a building permit, so they know where the driveway's going to go or where this is going to go. So if I'm reading the first one correctly, then you don't even need a building permit as long as you do it within 2 years. Is that what it's telling me?
No, the first one, I believe, is that it's when the funds are collected.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the funds are collected at the consent stage.
Your Worship.
Yeah, maybe I can get some clarification. And I see Mr. George is here, but I don't know whether he's the proper person or whether it's Mr. Yamarino. So why is in paragraph 4, why does the second subparagraph make reference to the town endeavoring to complete the tree planting within 2 years? Why is that in there?
I'd like to defer that question to Mr. George, please.
Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. The second paragraph under line item 4 on the appendix is basically a self-imposed deadline in an ideal situation on the town. So if the tree can't be planted on the boulevard and we receive the funds to plant in a park, that's a deadline imposed on us to try and make sure there is no backlog in the future to get those trees planted. The third paragraph is the one referring to building permits and deadlines imposed on applicants.
Either way, it's 2 years.
That's the timeline we came up with on either party, yes.
And the imposition of the, if I might, Chair, the imposition of the timeline on staff arises from where?
Just to, I know one of the issues stemming from the beginning of this issue was the backlog we had and are still currently trying to clear. So that through discussion with management, we just decided to put in a imposition on our staff to try and plant these trees in an ideal situation within 2 years.
Yeah, I see that there's some qualification. If I might, Chair, so what about extending that to 5 years? Does that create any impediments or problems for staff going forward?
I don't see any. It's just an amount that we felt was appropriate amount of time.
Okay, thank you. So just a comment. I know exactly where, you may sit down. I know exactly where the 2 years comes from, and I know where staff wants to impose a limit on how long they can have this, because they don't want to run into a situation where there are years and years of funds accumulated. So I would hope that if it's 5 years and there's an accumulation of funds, we don't hear that staff is falling down on their job because they're not getting out there planting trees. So I'm not going to support the amendment in any event, but that's the concern that I have. Thank you.
Councillor Noyes.
Okay, my amendment doesn't necessarily go with the town will endeavor. I think that can remain the 2 years. I have no problem because it's not going to be planted on the boulevard anyway. So we really don't, there's no driveway, whatever, that we have to worry about. It's the second one where you need a building permit and you have to do it within 2 years, that the plant trees elsewhere in the town, if applicants do not present building plans within a 2-year period after a consent is featured. I'd like to, maybe from staff, to find out, okay, I know when I created 2 consent applications, it took 3 years for one house to be built and the other lot's still empty. What's the normal course when someone creates a consent application to create a lot? Like, what's the normal timeline, like estimated timeline in regards to getting a building permit?
Marino.
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Noyes, I don't know if there's really any average without any, looking at any data. Just anecdotally, it's a wide variety. Some lots, like you'd mentioned, are within 3 years. Others are 5 plus, 10 years plus. So it's really a wide spectrum.
Okay, and thank you for that explanation. I guess my concern is that it may take more than 2 years to get a building permit. I don't understand why. I understand that decades went where we collected money we did nothing with, and we had $120,000 in a tree bank that we did nothing with until this past year. And I understand we don't want to repeat that situation, but I think you're putting an undue burden on the consent application, the person who's doing that, for 2 years. It's really a tight turnaround when you're building a house and you're trying to get all your ducks in a row. So I would like to see that extended to 5 years. And I think that would still give us enough time to keep track of this. The other, if you can't plant it on that property, do it 2 years. But if it's a consent application and the tree's going to be planted on that boulevard, I would extend it to 5.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Okay, I will call the question. Oh, you want it registered, Mr. Clerk?
Thank you, through you, Chair. Recorded vote requested on the amendment. Councillor McDermott. Councillor Lewis.
Yes.
Mayor. Councillor Flagg.
Yes.
Councillor Dubanow.
No.
Councillor Noyes. And Councillor Christensen.
Yes.
That is approved.
So we now go to the report itself. Excuse me. Are there any questions about the report beyond what the amendments? I'll call the question on the report. All those in favor? That is, all those opposed? Okay, that is carried. Are there any new business inquiries? Is there anything arising from the business status report? There being none, I declare this session of the Planning, Building and Bylaw Services Subcommittee closed and turn the chair back to you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Councillor Christensen. That takes us to Infrastructure Services, Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Your Worship. The moment we've all been waiting for, I'll call Infrastructure Services to order. There are no presentations or delegations. There are no reports tonight. Any items of, we do have one business. Under new business, we have response to inquiries, which was some inquiry by the mayor, myself, and I think a few other councillors. Your Worship?
Yeah, do we have to move to receive this?
Your Mayor, yes. Sorry, Your Worship, that would be appropriate.
So I move that we receive this, and then I just have some comments. This really arose out of a concern about the amount of litter that was appearing around the town, and it still appears. There have been some issues over the course of the past year, particularly with respect to A, collection from the waste receptacles, B, the number of waste receptacles, and C, how long the waste receptacles have been out. I was looking for, and I am looking for, something a bit more assertive. I think, as Councillor Lewis, you have raised, that we should be putting together an adopt a park or an adopt a street or a road, and that's something that I think we should be taking proactive steps with respect to. So the information is helpful in the sense that it provides some background information on that, provides some indication as to who might want to be engaged in these types of activities. But clearly, I believe that there are service clubs, aside from the BIAs, service clubs, some nonprofit organizations, some community groups. I think maybe the Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee might be interested in getting engaged in something of this nature. And I know that my family wants to start an initiative in the name of my wife, who was very instrumental in Earth Day cleanups over the years that she taught. So that's the direction that I'm thinking we should be going. I appreciate that there's been some outreach to some people, particularly interested in the reference to contact with fast food vendors, because that's one of the biggest problems that we're faced with all over the place. And it's not the fast food vendor, it's the customers of the fast food vendor that don't seem to feel that they need to keep their community tidy. So I appreciate the information that we've received. I think we need to take it a further step and start moving on some of these initiatives. And I will be having further discussions with the CAO with respect to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Any other questions or comments from members of council? Seeing none, I'll just make one comment, and I know I've had some conversations with the mayor and CAO as well as the director regarding garbage pickup in the BIA areas and parks in particular, but I did notice one thing missing from the report. It does point out, and I've said this before, that the community needs to do more, and then the mayor's highlighted that with the Adopt the Park initiative and roads as maybe one of the others, but the one part that's missing from the report is where the town can do better. And I didn't see anywhere in the report any reference to the town upping their game in terms of garbage pickup, but certainly some great points on community. But I just think we need to be mindful of the town's involvement in this initiative as well. Do I have someone who wants to move this so that we, you did? Okay, thank you. And we don't vote on that. Yeah, so I'll call the question on receiving this. All in favor? None opposed? That's carried. Now let me see where I'm going. Anything with the business status report? Seeing none, I'll turn it back over to you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lewis. Very efficient. Okay, so we have a closed session. Can I have a motion for us to go into closed session? Councillor Dubanow, any questions or comments about that? The items here are listed. Clerk, did you want me to read out why we're going into closed session?
Your Worship, I can repeat those if you like. Or
Yeah, sure, please do.
First item is regarding the closed meeting minutes of November 3rd. Second item is human resources matter pursuant to section 239(2)B of the Municipal Act. And the last item, report LLS 05-2025 Crystal Beach Tennis and Yacht Club Shoreline Protection Plan, and that's pursuant to section 239(2)F.
So all those in favor of moving into closed session? None opposed? That is carried. Okay, so we're back in the council chamber. Before we go to the resolution to rise and reconvene from closed session, Councillor Flagg, it became apparent to you that you have a pecuniary interest with respect to one of the matters?
It did, Your Worship, with respect to the human resource issue. When that became clear, I left the room during the discussion, and I will be declaring a conflict during the vote.
And the nature of your pecuniary interest is?
My daughter works for the town.
Okay. So then, Councillor Lewis, will go to you for the resolution to rise from closed session, and I would ask you to deal with items 12.1 and 12.3 separately from 12.2.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McDermott that council does now rise and reconvene from closed session at 9:12 p.m. with report 12.1 that council approves the closed meeting minutes of November the 3rd, 2025, and 12.3 that council authorize staff to proceed as directed in closed session.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. And then 12.2?
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Christensen that 12.2 that council receives the updated update provided by staff in closed session.
Okay. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? And that is carried. I note that Councillor Flagg did not participate in that vote. Okay, that takes us to scheduling of meetings. Any meetings anyone would like to announce? Councillor Dubanow.
Yes, Your Worship, the Museum and Cultural Heritage Advisory Committee has a meeting coming up on December 10th at 1 p.m. That will be here in Town Hall and Conference Room 1.
Councillor Noyes. Wednesday, December 3rd. And the planning meeting was tomorrow at what time? And you snuck another meeting in there. Tomorrow. Okay, so you'll be busy. Councillor Lewis.
Thank you. The Crystal Beach Business Improvement Association, I believe it's their AGM, will be on Wednesday, December the 10th at the Crystal Ridge Library starting at 6 p.m.
And Councillor Christensen.
The Senior Citizens Advisory Committee will be meeting at 10 a.m. on Wednesday, December 3rd. In Committee Room 1, and the Ridgeway BIA will be meeting at 5:30 on the 3rd at the Crystal Ridge Library.
And that's at what time?
Oh, 5:30.
Any other meetings? We have a budget meeting scheduled for Wednesday, December the 3rd, starting at 6 o'clock. Be there or be square. Councillor Dubanow, we're at the point in the meeting where we all give a sigh of relief because you have the floor.
Yes, Your Worship, I'd like to move the council and committee adjourn at 9:15 p.m. this evening.
All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you, folks.